என்னடா யோசிக்கிற? There is nothing to think so much மச்சான். தைரியமா போ. ட்ரஸ்டபிள்ரா. 3 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாடி என்ன பார்த்துருக்கல, இப்போ நான் பார்க்குறல்ல. How confident I am because I have taken a right decision. நான் கொடுத்த அட்ரஸ் போய் விசிட் பண்ணு. You will have a personal care from them.
எல்லா பேஷண்ட்ஸுக்கும் பர்சனல் கேர் தராங்க. 30 years of proven medical records. All eye care treatment under one roof. அதான் ஆர்கே ஐ சென்டரோட ஸ்பெஷாலிட்டி.
My dear children of God, it's my pleasure to be with you all once again for this episode, How to Lead a Life That Would Be Pleasing to the Lord. Now, we have been dealing with the life of Joseph, how God groomed him through difficult situations to get him trained to take up assignments at a later time, to save Egyptians, Israelites and the nearby countries during the famine period of 7 years. We all might be thinking when Joseph got the dream that others are going to bow down, he is going to be a great leader, not only amongst his brothers, but also for his father and mother. He might have been imagining and thinking that it's all going to be a rosy path. But as we know, it was not so. He had to go through a lot of troubles, tribulations before he could go to the level of next in command to Pharaoh. Similarly, my dear children of God, we too will have our own troubles and ordeals before God could help us to achieve what He had planned for us. It is not that because He doesn't like us, it is because only through such path we can be groomed to trust Him and to take up assignments later and to learn all the administrative skills that we need in our life. As I have been sharing earlier, which I am planning to continue later, as how God had groomed me right from my college days, choosing the college for me, a field for me. He put me into chemical engineering so that I learnt all the disciplines of engineering, and later putting me into a government job where I could learn on tendering, and then shifting me to a private job for 12 years where I learned to execute lot of turnkey projects on utilities and also learn on cash flow management. Because of all these strenuous training for 17 years, I could become an entrepreneur at the age of 40. Here we see Joseph having been put into pit at the age of 17. When he comes to next in command to Pharaoh, he is at the age of 30. For 13 years, Joseph was put into training. We all might be thinking it is for just elevating Joseph to a higher position. No, not necessarily. It is all God's bigger picture. In fact, He has told Abraham when He was blessing him earlier that your descendants would be subjected to 400 years of slavery in a place, and after that I will take them out. And Israelites were there in Egypt for 430 years, 30 years more. We might be wondering what is the 30 years to do with? The first 30 years they were not slaves. Joseph was alive, and the Pharaoh who knew Joseph was also alive perhaps. And during the first 30 years of Israelites' life on Egypt, it was all comfort zone. They were not slaves. But later on, the next 400 years, they were subjected to slavery. And so God has been planning. Why God is locking them at Egypt? This is one thing we have to ponder. That is because even in the book of Genesis 38 chapter, the first 3 verses we see, at that time Judah left his brothers, went down to stay with a man of Adullam named Hira. There Judah met the daughter of a Canaanite man named Shua. He married her and made love to her. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son who was named Er. So, God wanted to preserve a nation as such, a group, not contaminated with others. But even before Joseph was sold as a slave, even in the chapter of 38 we see Judah going out and marrying a Canaanite. In fact, our Lord Jesus Christ comes in the line of Judah. So, things are getting corrupted. So, God wanted to lock them up at a place where this type of intermarriage cannot happen. So, he is planning to take them to Egypt. That is what we are going to find later. So, because of that, Jacob enters Egypt with his children and grandchildren. They were just 72 people, and with Joseph it could be slightly more. But after 430 years, when they leave Egypt by the strong hand of God through Moses, they had become 6 lakh men. If it is 6 lakh men, obviously there should have been 6 lakh women, altogether 12 lakhs adults, and even approximately 5 children per family, per couple if we put, another 30 lakhs. So, altogether 42 lakhs of Israelites are leaving Egypt. So, God had made a nation from Jacob and not contaminated. How it is not contaminated? Because in Egypt they were slaves, they cannot leave out. So, they cannot go to Canaan and marry other women or other men, they are locked. And Egyptians hated Hebrews because they found them to be of lower level, fit for looking after sheep and cattle. That is how Jacob himself introduces himself as per Joseph's instruction. When Pharaoh calls him and says, what is your vocation? He says, we are all shepherds. So, Pharaoh gives him the land of Goshen, which is full of grass. So, they all consider them as low class people. But today we know what Israelites are. God's Spirit is with them. And Pharaohs thought themselves as very high class, because even in those days they had chariots, they had pyramids constructed, they were advanced civilization at that time, and these people were just starting. So, God wanted to preserve this nation, so He locked them up at Egypt, so that none of the Egyptians will give their daughters or sons to Israelites, so that Israelites have to intermarry or marry within their clan, so that this race will be kept intact. From that race, God will take them out to Mount Sinai and start giving the 10 commandments to start with. And the 10 commandments will slowly become do's and don'ts in the first 5 books of Torah. In the first 5 books of Torah, God gives further commandments for the mankind. It is universal. So many things, 613 mitzvahs, that is what they say, do's and don'ts. God likes this, God does not like that. So, He takes more and more teachings to them as how He wants the mankind to be. So, through Israelites, He wants to save the whole mankind. In fact, that is what we see in John 4:22, when Jesus Christ meets the Samaritan woman. Jesus Christ will tell, you Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, for salvation is from the Jews. So, salvation is from the Jews. So, only through Jews or Israelites, God is planning to give the instruction to the whole mankind later as what is expected. In fact, Jesus Christ tells in Matthew last chapter, 28th chapter, last few verses, go to the ends of the world and make disciples, and making them to obey all that I had commanded. So, this is how God is starting with 10 commandments and taking the syllabus to a far higher level. In fact, Jesus Christ will tell in the Matthew 5th chapter, it is true you have been told do not commit adultery, but now I tell you, do not even look at a woman with lust in your eyes. It is true I told you not to commit murder, but now I tell you, Don't even get angry. So God is lifting up His expectations higher and higher, so that better level of teaching is given to mankind, so that in eternity He can use us for a greater purpose when we reflect more and more of Christ. So my dear children of God, it is not just God had a plan for Joseph. Through Joseph, God is saving first His own clan, His own Jacob's family, His own kith and kin, brothers, children, His own children, and also the Egyptians, Pharaoh and his people, and later gives lot of commandments, and in New Testament He gives more. And in Matthew 5th chapter, verses 17 and 18, Jesus Christ says, "Do not think I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth disappear, not the smallest letter, not the least stroke of pen will by any means disappear from the law until everything is accomplished." My dear children of God, God is slowly changing from doing to being. He said, "I desire mercy, not your sacrifice." So sacrifice is doing, desiring mercy is being. So God is raising up that. In Luke 16th chapter, 17th verse, Jesus says, "It is easier for heaven and earth to disappear than for the least stroke of a pen to drop out of the law." So it is not that God had dispensed with the law. God wants us to become His disciples by following all His commands. God had told, Jesus Christ has told, that the one who saw me saw my Father. Similarly, those who see us must see Christ in us. That's a very high call. Unless we follow His teachings and statutes, we cannot reflect Him. And to train us for that, only God has brought us into this world. We are supposed to learn. And what we see here, Joseph's life is not just a small incident. As I told you, it is not that he wanted to elevate him. He wanted to make him a big boss. No. Through Joseph, he is preserving a nation and later giving the commands at Mount Sinai, and subsequently through Jesus, he is further giving lot more commands. Even in our life, if we see, any one incident is just not the end of it. It is all a progressive way God is taking us through for an ultimate good of us. As I was telling you, when God put me through college, government job, private job, all these things were only to groom me at a later date to be an entrepreneur. Even that was not an end. Today he is using me as an evangelist. Even through this, he will take next generation into his evangelism. We don't know. God has His own plan. That's what He says in Jeremiah 29 chapter 11th verse. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." God did this in Joseph's life. God will do it in each one of our lives. Only thing, we should be waiting for Him, we should be obedient, we should be learning, we should grow in wisdom. How does wisdom come? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Whatever we do, we should have a reverential fear. We may have raw fear. Oh, God will punish us. That is raw fear. But we should cross that boundary and go to a level of reverential fear. My dear children of God, we are not here by accident. We are here on a purpose. Purpose to fulfill the God's plan that He has for each one of us. As how He has revealed it slowly in Joseph's life, He will reveal it in our lives also. But we may have to go through lot of struggles, difficulties before we achieve that. Lord Himself has said, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome." So my dear children of God, if you want to listen to these messages, you can always visit www.divinetruth.asia or YouTube Narendranath. Let us plan to fulfill His plan by obeying His command for His glory. Thank you.
அப்பாயின்மெண்ட் வாங்கிட்டல?
வாங்கிட்டேன்க்கா.
ஹே, why are you getting nervous? லாஸ்ட் மந்த் பிரியா குட்டியோட அங்க தான் விசிட் பண்ணேனா. எக்கனாமிக்கல்டா. இன்சூரன்ஸ் கூட கிளைம் பண்ணிக்கலாம். ப்ரீமெச்சூர் பேபிஸ்ல இருந்து ஓல்ட் ஏஜ் பீப்புள் வரைக்கும் விசிட் பண்ற ஒரு இடம்.
எல்லா பேஷண்ட்ஸுக்கும் பர்சனல் கேர் தராங்க. 30 years of proven medical records. ஆர்கே ஐ சென்டர் டி நகர்ல இருக்கிறதுனால accessible to all places.
Youngsters, you guys must take the right decision at the right time with the right people.